Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we really get into your sources, pulling out those really valuable nuggets of knowledge and insight.
Yeah, dig in deep.
Exactly. And for this one, you sent over some fascinating stuff on self-control articles, notes, even some research. Our mission today is basically to unpack the practical strategies and maybe the deeper understanding hiding in there.
Sounds good.
Because, let's face it, in a world that's just constantly grabbing for our attention, trying to master self-control, it can feel like you need a superpower. Right?
Oh, definitely.
But what did your sources actually say it is? And, why is it so crucial for us to work on?
That's a really good starting point. What's striking, looking across all the material you shared, is this common thread. Self-control isn't just like raw willpower floating in space.
Okay.
Often it's the missing link. It turns good intentions into, well, actual consistent action.
Yeah.
You highlighted that ancient proverb, didn't you?
The one about the city. Yeah.
A man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. It's so vivid, it means you're vulnerable, you lack defense. So it's not just a nice to have. Your sources really position it as foundational. It helps build a resilient life, a purposeful one, kind of safeguarding your inner world from all the chaos outside.
That image, the city without walls, that really lands. It suggests we need this kind of inner fortification. And your sources spent a lot of time defining it. It's more than just resisting temptation, isn't it?
Oh, much more, yeah.
It's about cultivating both self-discipline and moderation.
Precisely. And what's really interesting from your sources is how deep these roots go, like into ancient wisdom.
Right.
Take Stoicism, for instance.
Yeah.
It's presented not just as, a philosophy to think about, but as an active practice.
A practice. How so?
Well, a way of deliberately cultivating self-control and moderation, the aim, to overcome destructive emotions, knee-jerk reactions, essentially to become a clear, unbiased, sort of level-headed thinker, reducing the power that external triggers have over your internal state.
So it's not really about just denying yourself things constantly. It's more like gaining a kind of inner freedom.
That's a great way to look at it, yeah. This practice, according to your material, lets us live with, frankly, much greater mental clarity and the ability to focus our energy on what actually matters to us instead of being pulled in a million directions.
Getting sidetracked all the time.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is how this inner strength, built up through consistent self-control, it fundamentally makes us less likely to be, well, the word used was enslaved by outside forces.
Enslaved. Strong word.
It is. But think about it. Our impulses, those instant triggers, the temptations that pop up, they just don't have the same hold over us when we've built up that inner faculty.
Okay, I see.
And this shift, it's repeatedly linked in your sources to greater inner peace, a deeper happiness. You become more content with what you have, less driven by what you think you need.
That reframing is powerful. Moving from seeing it as restriction to seeing it as, well, inner freedom. And that sounds like the absolute foundation for tackling big challenges, like breaking bad habits and actually forming good ones.
It really is, yeah.
Self-control is like the engine that gets us out of those ruts and pushes us towards our goals.
Absolutely. Without it, we're kind of adrift, aren't we? Just tossed around by every little desire instead of actually steering our own ship based on our values. It's presented as a core skill for building a life that feels, intentional, meaningful.
Okay, so that's the why. How do we actually do it? Let's get into some practical stuff from your sources, starting with a big one, controlling emotions and impulses. That seems really tough.
It can be, yeah.
I was really drawn to the story about Zeno of Cyprus, the founder of Stoicism. That was in one of your articles. After this terrible shipwreck, he lost everything, literally everything.
Right,
His livelihood, status, all his stuff, gone. But he didn't just collapse into despair. While others might have been completely overwhelmed, Zeno apparently stayed composed. He just started rebuilding his life. He became this master of, mental toughness, discipline, perseverance.
An amazing story.
It really shows finding clarity even in chaos, doesn't it?
It really does. And it perfectly captures the stoic idea of courage, as your sources describe it. It's not just like physical bravery. It's this deep inner strength, being in control of your emotions. It means building endurance, confidence, keeping a positive outlook even when things are falling apart, rather than just being swept away. And your materials pointed to other traditions saying similar things, like the biblical story of Joseph. When he faced this huge temptation, he asks himself, how can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?
Okay.
Now, the insight there isn't really about the specific religious context for everyone, but about the reason he had, a really powerful, deep internal motivation that went beyond just the immediate desire. That anchored his self-control.
Having a powerful why, an anchor. That seems absolutely key for developing that strong will.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. What about avoiding distractions and breaking bad habits? Especially today. I mean, we live in a world of instant gratification, distractions everywhere.
Yeah, it's a
Just Zeno's story, losing everything, adopting that minimalist life, it brought him mental clarity. But hopefully we don't need a shipwreck to get there.
Hopefully not. And look, the practical strategies in your sources become much clearer once you understand that why we just talked about.
Right.
One really effective method mentioned is looking at the consequences. Seriously. I'd suggest you, the listener, actually try what one article proposed. Check your phone's screen time tracker.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, add up the daily, weekly, monthly use. Then separately list your big life goals. What do you really want?
Okay.
Now be brutally honest. How is all that phone time stopping you from getting what you truly value? The source stress being super detailed and insightful here. Really connect the dots between the distraction and the delayed goal.
Oof. That's confronting, but probably necessary. It's easy to ignore those little bits of time, but they add up massively.
They really do. Another strategy that came up is looking at potential stumbling blocks. There was this principle mentioned, making no provision for the flesh.
What does that mean exactly?
Basically, if you struggle with something specific, like, say, eating too much junk food, don't keep it in the house.
Seems obvious, but...
It does, but it's about proactively designing your environment to make it harder to fail. Remove the trigger before the urge hits. Your material also mentioned getting a trusted friend's input.
The brutally honest friend.
Exactly. Someone who can point out those weak spots you might be blind to. Then there's distraction and substitution. When you'd normally do the bad habit, actively distract yourself or swap in a healthier one. Chewing gum instead of smoking. Classic example. Simple mechanism.
Right.
And finally, just restricting usage. Actively limiting time on your phone, social media, the internet in general. These are all concrete ways to build that muscle, that self-restraint.
Those are super practical, really actionable. Here's another simple exercise from your sources you could try right now just to feel this out. Try pausing for just a moment before you start eating your meal.
Okay.
And maybe chew each bite a specific number of times before swallowing. It sounds tiny, maybe even silly, but you might be shocked at how hard that little act of self-restraint can be. It tells you a lot about your impulses.
That's a fantastic micro practice. It makes you aware of those tiny automatic actions we do without thinking, just bringing awareness into the everyday.
So, okay, a lot of this is about resisting, stopping the bad stuff. But self-control isn't only about that, is it? Your sources talked about it being just as vital for building the good, forming habits that actually move us towards our goals.
You've nailed a really crucial point there. Yes. Self-control is presented as the absolute key to building those positive habits.
The engine again.
Exactly. The engine that propels us towards what we want to achieve.
Yeah.
The Stoics themselves, they weren't about just drifting aimlessly. Your sources highlighted how they used specific, clear goals as a way to hone their skills, to practice measured, meaningful action.
Right.
It's about having a target and then using your discipline to actually move towards it.
I like that phrase, honing skills through goals. It's not just about getting there, but improving yourself on the way.
Precisely. And this is where things like resilience, hard work, and just taking action come into play. Marcus Aurelius, another big Stoic name, he advised people to stop drifting and sprint to the finish.
Trying to the finish.
Yeah, he pictured the goal, like the light at the end of the tunnel. It gives you direction, motivation. Without that light, we're just sort of wandering, using energy, but going nowhere specific.
So the daily habits, those become the steps towards that light. Like, say, sitting down every evening to write those 3 pages of your book, or hitting the gym consistently for a fitness goal.
Exactly those kinds of things. The focus, as your material really emphasized, is on continuously showing up, doing the work towards the goal, and importantly, taking action even when you don't feel like it.
Yeah, that's the real test.
That really is the core of it. And this reminds me of a concept from your sources, the Japanese phrase chopozutsu.
Chopozutsu.
Yeah, it means little by little. It perfectly captures the huge power of small, consistent steps adding up over time.
Little by little. I like that.
And on a slightly deeper level, there is this fascinating idea that many of our needs and desires aren't actually physical, but come from ideas ingrained in our minds.
How so?
Well, one source shared a personal story about doing a 72-hour water fast.
Wow. 3 days.
Yeah, and it completely changed their perspective on food. They realized they could function fine without eating for a whole day, easily, and this, they argued, reduced their attachment and anxiety around meals. It shows how challenging those ingrained mental ideas can shift our relationship with desires.
That's a really interesting anecdote. It really underscores how much is psychological, not just physical need.
Exactly. And your sources even laid out a kind of workout plan for self-control, especially from one particular spiritual viewpoint. It suggested building virtue-like moral excellence on top of faith, then adding knowledge through reading and study, and then after that foundation of focusing hard on self-control itself.
So a sequence. Build the foundation first.
Right. The idea is that control over the body and impulses comes more naturally then. It becomes less of a constant grinding battle and more of an outflow from that inner work.
That's a really thoughtful approach, building that internal structure. And for a simple practical trick on habit formation, one source suggested tacking a new habit onto something you already do every day without fail, like brushing your teeth.
Habit stacking.
Exactly. You use the existing trigger, makes it way easier to be consistent with the new thing.
Yeah, that's a classic technique. Really effective because it uses pathways already in your brain.
Okay, but let's be real here. Building self-control isn't usually a smooth, straight line up, is it? We all have ups and downs. We slip up. How do your sources suggest we handle those setbacks and keep going?
Yeah, this is so important and often missed. It's crucial to acknowledge, as your material does, that self-control often feels like an internal fight, right?
Definitely.
One part of you wants to indulge or be impulsive. The other part wants to do what's right or better long term. It's a tension. And look, everyone messes up sometimes.
Sure.
The key insight here is, don't just fixate on the failure. Don't get stuck in a loop of beating yourself up about it. Condemnation was a word used.
Right. That doesn't help.
No. It's okay to slip. The trick is to acknowledge it, maybe learn something from it, but then shake it off and refocus on the bigger picture, the overall game. This idea of grace came up, allowing yourself the space to reset without being totally derailed by a mistake. Then you can move forward with fresh determination.
That's really encouraging because, yeah, expecting perfection just sets you up for failure. One source brought up this idea of self-control as a fruit of the spirit. This fruit was described as a cluster of qualities: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control was in there too. And the idea presented was that this fruit doesn't just appear through sheer hard willpower alone. It emerges more naturally when an individual cultivates a well-nourished inner life, like fruit growing on a healthy tree.
That's a lovely metaphor.
It makes it seem like less of a constant, exhausting fight and more like a natural outcome, a blossoming, if you foster the right conditions internally.
It is a great way to think about it. It suggests self-control, in that view, can be an outflow of a deeper inner state, not just something you have to force all the time with gritted teeth. It's about creating the right environment inside yourself for it to grow.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what we've really seen from your sources is that self-control isn't just about harsh restriction. It seems to be more about cultivating, well, clarity, freedom from distraction, and building that power to intentionally pursue what really matters to you.
Well put.
It sounds like a seriously powerful tool for building a life that feels more purposeful and maybe more content, too.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with, something provocative from your material. Think about that story of the prophet Daniel.
Okay.
As a young man, he deliberately chose not to eat the rich foods offered to him because he felt they'd defile him. He opted for just vegetables instead.
Right. A clear choice based on his principles.
Exactly. So in that same spirit, the challenge to you, the listener, is this. Think of one specific area in your own life where you could start exercising this muscle of self-control. Take one small, intentional step to deny yourself something, not as punishment, but as practice. What's going to be your vegetable?
What's your vegetable? That's a great question to ponder. As you go about your day, maybe reflect on that. Think about how even these small, deliberate acts of self-restraint, these little no's, can build towards greater self-mastery and a more focused, intentional you. Thanks for joining us for this exploration of your sources. We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.